When you log into the product as a user, you will see this kind of a menu, which gives you the list of all key modules. So GenAI is your typical chat environment, and it can also create visualizations out of the text. Analyzer AI will provide you with information pertaining to your documents. So you can provide some documents or data sources, and you can analyze it a lot. This is my currently most popular module and the biggest module I have. MyBiz with databases is a module where you can operate the vector databases that you have created. A very interesting thing about this is that you can just drop some files and build your own databases, and then you can all use it in productive ways. It has some very advanced features for searching, because searching vector databases is quite a bit of a hit and miss, and there is a research assistant that serves for that purpose. MyBiz app is a module that's currently being developed, and it has custom applications. I do have several working examples, but it is still being developed. A report maker is a tool which works on templates, where you provide an Excel sheet, which is templated, that you fill up manually. And then as you upload it, the whole task, the whole job gets delivered. Typically, there can be a report or analysis or whatever. But yeah, it has several different types that you can analyze. Spreadsheet QA is an interesting project which finds in a sheet that you upload. So like, let's say Excel sheet, it will find the first table, so top left, and you can start querying it all kinds of interesting and smart ways. This is a result of the fact that quite a few companies have some of their knowledge base or database type of information stored in Excel sheets. So here you can really utilize that and take advantage. Brainstorming AI is a module where you can put your idea or problem, and then you basically pitch two AIs, one against each other. And while AIs are working, they're also taking notes. And as you finish taking notes, you can reanalyze the whole thing and create your plan of attack for whatever the problem is. Tutor AI uses the data that you provided, and then it helps you learn it. So it's sort of a training module where you can also run some quizzes and so forth. And AI Persona Builder is the environment where you can learn how to write your own system prompts, or if you don't know how to write a system prompts, with a simple, quick touch base, you can quickly run through them. So I will quickly show you a few of them. So the Gen AI, basically your typical chat. Yeah, you can also create visualizations by asking a question or describing a situation, and you can also chat about those charts. And now, of course, if you offered some products or companies or whatever, then you can keep adding. And there are quite a few types of charts that you can create. And through the chat, you can continue refining it the way you wish. So it's a pretty cool thing. Now, Analyzer AI works on data. So, for example, if you grab a file, you can also add some text, or you can upload more files. And when you update the content gets previewed, and then you have various analytical tools. Now you can create your own ones. So these are just examples. But for example, if you want to know what the document is about, you can hit this button. Some of my clients use it for analyzing tenders, preparing responses. The app can control the temperature of an AI module, which means that if you use the lower side of the temperature, which is by default in the app, it will be very accurate, versus if you increase, you'll have more creativity. Obviously, when you're working with documents, when you're working where accuracy matters, you will be looking at lower values. And you can do all kinds of analysis here. You can also use it to create data sets. So it will work with you to extract certain amounts of data, and you can use them as facts, or you can create little tables and databases. So you can use it for different purposes elsewhere. In language section, we have some additional tools where big jobs are being processed in chunks. So if you have a book to translate, you will never run out of context window because the app takes care of that. Which is pretty important because a lot of apps these days, they just point somewhere to public AI and you hope that the output is big enough. Very often output is not big enough, and it's one of the strengths of this app. In databases, as mentioned, you can create some vector databases. You can simply ask a question, what is a logger phone? Right, so what it does, it searches it, and it's a pretty semantic search, and it can be hit and miss. So for example, if you're talking about public employees or civil servants, when you search Australian Constitution, for example, it may or may not find it. If you take the research assistant, it suddenly changes. Now, research assistant runs 10 attempts. For the purpose of this demo, I reduce this to 3 attempts, but let's say if I ask the same question, what is a logger phone? Right? Now it will start analyzing data and massaging this vector database. What is it doing? It is using 5 different methods which exist in data science for analyzing this kind of complex vector databases. And once it hits 5, the 6th and up to as many attempts you wish are basically iteration. It also learns from each of these outputs that you can see now coming up, and the additional knowledge that is coming out is helping it guide the queries. So the quality of queries goes forward. It's also trying to detect if there is a chance that AI provided some of its own knowledge, even though it's instructed to focus on the knowledge from the document. But it will focus on finding the right answer. Now, what's very important, both in Analyzer AI and in the databases, is that it's focusing on knowledge that you have. Right, so the goal here is not to have a smart AI. The goal here is to have AI that understands what you have. So if you have an error in a document that you're supposed to work on, you get the error out. You don't get the better improved version. You get the error out as much as this is possible. It's important is this because you're working on something, you're improving something. So you are relying on this, that AI gets you what you have, rather than what AI would assume that would be ideal. So it is really good for work environment. And I had clients which been comparing this to ChatGPT, and the accuracy, productivity accuracy is incredibly higher. A client of mine currently is using Analyzer AI in particular to modify policies and contracts of a major chemical company that you all know of, and changing these policies to be more human readable for particular communities in Australia. And what they found is that the accuracy and the amount of human effort to compare the original legal text with plain English text is so much easier here because the error rate is far lesser. Now, why does a model which is 200 times more than the one from ChatGPT, or maybe even less, more accurate? It is because we have a good control of it. We pick the model that suits us the most, and we also adjust the temperature values where we want them, and a few other parameters which make it more suitable for the working environment rather than all kinds of quizzes and challenges. Here, as I mentioned, you drop a template and it does the job. Spatial QI is quite interesting. So for example, if we grab it, so it will try to find the first table it can find from top left and all the way until it ends, and you confirm which columns are interesting to you. There are several methods of querying this. Of course, this LLM picks certain number of rows which are most similar and then thinks about them rather than thinking the whole database, well, the Excel sheet. And the interesting thing about this, I have run this on thousands and thousands of rows. So this is super fast. It takes seconds to process. Mathematical distance will just give you those mathematical without LLM thinking. So this is really just a task done in the browser and on the server. And mass LLM will go line by line through the whole Excel sheet. So even if you have 5,000 lines, it will run 5,000 queries and validate each query against it. But let's say if I ask, what is ISO 27001? Now it gets mentioned in a number of different rows. If you run this, what it did, it grabbed 10 and it thought about them, and it's providing you answer based on these 10. And this is really interesting because if you have company data which may have your own way of doing it, or you have your own IP, you do not need AI to generalize or use some knowledge from whatever other source. You want it to be accurate to what you have, right? To your knowledge base, right? And you can also review those records. So this time we selected 10, you can take 20 or whatever, as far as it fits in context window. And context window on this is pretty big. So this particular model supports up to 128K tokens. Currently I have activated 64K tokens, but you can, and there are models, offline models, which go to far more. So you can load a book of data. Brainstorming AI, as mentioned earlier. So I'll just give an example. So let's say we pitch two AIs, one against each other, and let's say we present a problem. I want to start the flower shop in Edinburgh. There we go. And yes, AI is unpredictable. We start running it. So two of them start talking, and literally that's what's happening. So output of one is thrown to the other one and back forth. Now, if you have selected here to participate in conversation, you would be a third party to this party. But the idea is, as you go, every time something is agreed on, it gets written in this notepad. Once you feel that there are enough notes, what you can do is hit the button conclude. And what it does, it reviews the notes, it reviews the original task, and then it creates the actual conclusions, right? So it will create some that can be steps, that can be plan, that can be whatever you want, and you also get to keep the transcript. And sometimes keeping transcript is interesting because you want to see the logic behind it, the reasoning, why these items have happened. Or, for example, if you're troubleshooting particular difficult part of a code, you might use that to see the little snippets in between. So very useful. Tutor AI, you essentially provide some information, and then you can either learn about this, you can ask some questions about it, have a conversation about it, or you can directly question as a quiz. So persona builder, so essentially system prompt, which is across all of the modules. You can select a couple of buttons here if you don't know how to write something, and it's automatically generating for you, so you can use it wherever you wish in the app. Of course, when you have more experience, if you start the conversation, you will modify this by yourself. You will have your own custom prompts. It's probably going to be faster anyway. The backend is very powerful, so you get some overview and then settings. Every little thing can be customized, and there supports multiple servers, and then different features can be pointed to different GPU servers. You can also pull them, so you can have, let's say, a proxy server, and you can have whole farms of servers. So in this particular case, you can have about 9-10 different targets, different models, and they can reside on as many servers if you wish, or you can have behind each of them a farm of servers. So you can, without any problem, run a whole pod of servers. You can have hundreds of servers to support this app. And and you can modify all the defaults and limits and token limits and which models you're running, and even which inferencing server you want. Also, there are some additional settings where you can configure some defaults which are related to inside working of the app, and you can also customize buttons in a main analyzer app, which is very useful because you can establish certain complex processes. So you can have certain amount of data that you frequently access. Let's say you're assessing if a client provides you information for a quote, they provide you a lot of data, you just drop it in and you push one button, right? And that the button you can configure it whether it tracks the answers and maintains the context window between them, or each one starts from the fresh. There's a reasons for each, and you can also run them in sequence. So for example, you can say, is there a BN? Did they provide company name? Did this, did that? Also about the product, about service, about whatever. And then once you kind of pull all of that data, you can just present it all out. So it's very useful. You can give a very complicated analysis, and anyone in a company can execute it, or it will simply save you a lot of time and so forth. So you can here you can create these databases and a few other features, including logs. The conversation, the queries are optionally logged in this product, so you can log them or you can choose not to log them. That will depend on various requirements you may have.